Here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here I am.
That is good. Great.
Right. Excellent.
Fine.
Ready to rock and roll. Let's go.
Okay. First of all, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Ramses Gallego. I'm from Barcelona, Spain. Actually, I'm sitting now in Barcelona, beautiful Barcelona, Spain. So honored of being invited as an ISACA Hall of Fame. I have been international vice president at the board of directors with ISACA. I have been president of the Barcelona chapter. And just recently, for 2024, I have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, which sounds super cool. But again, everything this combined, I'm executive vice president of the Quantum World Association. I usually talk on quantum technologies and emerging technologies, etc. So it's great to be with you today to have a conversation around cybersecurity, cyber resiliency, machine learning, AI, and everything in the middle. But again, combining my roles and the different hats that I'm so honored and privileged to wear. And, I'm super excited with the conversation and the next minutes. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, thank you. With Ramses today, we will talk about the relation between artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Yep. And we're trying to understand role and importance of artificial intelligence technology in the field of cybersecurity. And also, we try to understand how artificial intelligence threats and security vulnerabilities can be detected and prevented by artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
So let's start. What kind of cyber attacks we can consider right now?
Well, absolutely. I mean, AI is one of the hot topics in the industry. I always say in my sessions when I'm traveling around the planet and the different stages of the world, I say that with the internet changed everything. With AI, everything must change and everything will change. And unfortunately, not just in the defense vector, the way we can protect and defend and enhance our visibility and detect more and protect faster, right? Unfortunately, and as per your question, cyber criminals will also enhance the way they attack. I mean, the way they are using automatic unmanned, meaning unattended attacks. The way they are creating scripts and algorithms and applications in order not just to attack you in one way or two ways or three ways, but with a different set of tools to bring a society down or a company down or bring anything as a whole. What I'm trying to say here, and the question is very relevant, is that I have seen, due to my approach to cybersecurity and cyber resiliency, and because of my experience, I've witnessed attacks that they try one method of attack, like exfiltration of data. If this is not successful, they try lateral movements. If this is not successful, the same attack tries to gain access to privileges, so access privilege and access control, credentials stolen. There are different approaches, and I'm sorry to say that this is a nightmare because we are living through an epoch that is going to be, unfortunately, again, machine versus machine. So in the defense vector, the way we try to protect and defend, and then the attack vector, the way they try to create harm and disruption. So yes, in short, to your question, they exist, they are very real, and I will give you a couple of examples in a minute, but go ahead with the next question, if you will.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I just want to ask about, you mentioned that machine versus machine.
Yep.
So we don't say like real people or a group, like hacker group or something, but maybe one hacker start everything about this kind of conflict, right?
Yep.
And even the conflict with not just maybe the business, the companies, or people's personal data, but maybe to directly the governments. Also, there are too many conflicts we hear about, like China versus United States, for example.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. I mean, what is critical is to understand that on the 11th of January 2024, so roughly 4 months ago, the World Economic Forum released its 19th report edition of the Global Threat Risk Report. So the 19th edition, 19 of the Global Threat and Risk Report. It is amazing, to say something, how they envision threats at a global scale in 2 years' time and 10 years' time. So 2 years and 10 years. In the 2 years time frame, I'm not talking about 10. So let's go to the short period. Number 1 and number 4 of the top 10. Number 1 and number 4. I'm not talking about the number 9, number 5. No. Number 1 is, and I'm quoting, AI generated misinformation and disinformation. Let me say it again. Number 1 of the global top 10 threat risk report from the World Economic Forum, AI generated misinformation and disinformation. Number 4, cyber insecurity. Not cybersecurity, cyber insecurity. Actually, when they go into the 10-year time frame, of course, number 1 is global warming or extreme weather. As you know, this is a problem at large. But number 2, not number 5, not number 10, number 2, again, AI-enabled attacks, AI-driven campaigns. Why? Because it is economically possible and technologically viable. So it's economically, from an economical perspective, it's cheap to do that, and it's technologically possible to attack someone, as I was saying in my previous answer, in an automated, robotic-enabled process. And you don't need to have a hoodie, on a -1. Or you don't have to be a hacker sitting on a dark place with a hoodie, the usual image of a hacker. No. On the contrary, you can be drinking some gin tonic or something on a bar while the algorithm is doing the work. Which work? The bad work. Which work? The criminal work. But to your question, the first one and the second one, I am combining them, especially when they are nations against nations. Oh boy. Nations against companies. Oh boy. Companies against companies, because it's, again, economically possible and technologically viable. And let me finish this answer, this long answer, my apologies, with something. How do you prosecute that crime? So it is a tragedy. It's bad. It's okay, get it. But let's go to the real thing. Okay, this is gonna happen. It is happening right now in the present continuous tense. Also, but how do you fight against that from a legal perspective, not just from a technological perspective? And I can give you hints. That's my job. That's what I do for a living. But from a legal regulation perspective, how do you fight that crime when it is committed first by a machine? Allegedly, I know there's humans behind, but allegedly is made by a machine, and it's made from Singapore. No, I mean from Chicago, Illinois. No, I mean from Syria, or from. How do you prosecute that crime, especially? And your question was very pointed, when it's a nation that, again, allegedly is attacking you, because you know that there are something called false flag attacks.
Yeah.
False flag attacks means that I'm attacking you so that it looks like that you are attacking your partner, meaning a nation, a neighborhood country, and while I'm here laughing at you guys, fighting, you think that one of the other are, has to be blamed. This is called a false flag attacks. How can we fight against that from a legal perspective, regulation perspective, and of course, technological perspective? I mean, it is certainly a challenge, I would say. Yeah,
definitely. You are just sharing content, because I'm kind of course, a junior, and as experts, you explain too many things and touch too many things that we understand. There are sophisticated and complex situation also to detect and mitigate all these risks and attacks is probably not that easy, right?
Absolutely. Actually, the detection part is what I think we should work for. And truth to be told, machines, and I want to be positive, so I have been negative in my or realistic, I would say, in my 2 previous answers. But let me get positive, because with machines, meaning machines, when I mean machines is algorithms, we can detect faster and protect more. Why? because machines are good at algorithms are super good on one specific thing. They are very good on crunching a lot of data from different sources in order to do what? In order to detect patterns. In order to detect patterns of behavior. And something that may look not easy for me as a human, because it's 7 p.m. here in Barcelona, it's getting dark, I'm tired, I have been speaking all of the time, I have an argument with my daughter and with my wife, I have a jet lag because I've been traveling. Well, guess what? The algorithm is nothing of that. The algorithm is never tired. The algorithm is not hasn't had an argument with my wife or my daughter. So the algorithm is not upset with its manager. I may be. I may want a salary increase. The algorithm never complains and does its job 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days per year, relentlessly. So not complaining. And especially when it's about seeing patterns, smelling what might be happening, detecting patterns of behavior with unsupervised and reinforcement learning, machine learning. Let me go back to that. There are 4 types of machine learning. I'm going to focus on 2. Unsupervised machine learning and reinforcement learning, machine learning, the way the algorithm even learns from its own mistakes. Let me say it again. The way the algorithm even learns from its own false positives, so that the next time the algorithm, the machine, the robot, whatever you want to call it, learns that was bad at the beginning, now the algorithm is on its A game. The algorithm is on its best possible version of itself, because it's learning in a reinforced way. This is how, for instance, let me finish my long answer with the following. This is how ChatGPT works. I mean, ChatGPT is always better because it's getting fed. Sorry, I mean it's getting different questions, and now understands scripts and programs and questions in Catalan or questions in English, and then a social disruption in Turkey, or I mean, it's super interesting. But guess what? Everybody in the audience, I'm assuming, that knows ChatGPT, right? Okay. Welcome to the dark part of GPT, because it exists, and you can Google it. Worm GPT, worm like a worm, or wolf GPT, wolf like the animal. And you may imagine those names, worm GPT or wolf GPT, are services dedicated to the dark side of AI, to the dark side of automating attacks, automating harm, and that's terrible. Well, back to you. Thank you for your question. Yeah.
No, well, it's great. I don't want to cut any of your
Thank you.
Very catchy, actually.
Thank you.
And you highlighted that actually the artificial intelligence, these LLMs, language, like kind of God language, because I speak Turkish, you speak Catalan, Spanish, and it's like feeding too much is making the AI something sophisticated, something different.
Well, there are different LLMs, unfortunately, from criminal organizations. Remember that one of my articles out there in the internet, it's called Cybercrime is Crime, period. We call it cyber because we need to agree that it's very digital. We call it cyber to cyber attacks, cyber threats, cyber war. We call it cyber because we need a taxonomy so that everybody understands that it happens on the Wi-Fi, it happens on Ethernet, it happens on the cloud. But cybercrime is crime, period. And what I mean is that, as you may imagine, when there are criminal organizations behind that, as per your previous question, when there are nations behind that, because some nations want to spy, they want to create harm or disruption or attack some critical infrastructures, let's say energy or oil supply, so that in these times of war, so unfortunate, we can create some disruption in a country. Just by clicking here and there, you can stop the energy supply of a country just from kilometers afar, from miles away. Wow. I didn't see that coming. I have been in the industry 25 years plus, and I didn't see that coming. And again, going to my second previous answer, how do you fight against that when it is being done from any country? Just name from the US or China or Syria or from Moscow or from Tel Aviv or whatever, right? So it is so critical. So your question was, how what sort of LLMs do they use? Well, they create LLMs dedicated to one purpose and one purpose only, just to create again an unmanned, meaning unattended scripts. I can go to Wolf GPT, again, not Chat GPT. I said Wolf GPT or Warm GPT. I literally request something that is about can you create me a script to attack data pool and try to steal Demre credentials, and the algorithm will try, and it will do it persistently. Let me go back to let me mention one of the acronyms of the industry, of the many acronyms that we use. It's APTs, Advanced Persistent Threats. Again, this is an industry term. I am not making this up. Advanced persistent threats means that the threats are very advanced, okay, and very persistent. They try to persist. The question, my dear, is not how persistent they are, it's how persistent we are in defense and protection. I take it for granted that they are persistent because they want my money or my health information or my credit card data. I get that. Advanced persistent threats, great. The thing is that machine learning or artificial intelligence accelerates how persistent they are. Multiply the chances of being persistent. Again, trying different attacks or different tactics and techniques in the very same script in the very same time. But again, my positive approach, or my romantic approach, should I say, is how persistent we are and how obsessed we are on leveraging, yes, AI on the defense and protect vector, on discovering unstructured and structured data. Listen, structured data is the data that we know that we know. Structured data is the data that we understand, that we have under control. It is structured. But what happened with the conversation on unstructured data, which of course is the data that you don't know that you don't know. The data that you don't know, that we don't have under control because it happens to be in different clouds, in different repositories, in different platforms. So AI-driven attacks, machine learning focused campaigns are targeted into discovering any type of data. So we need to be super persistent and obsessed, if I may use the word, on protection and defense, Demre. I mean, exactly as you said. I mean, they will try, we will try, and they will keep trying, and we have to keep trying. Otherwise, we are not persistent enough. That's my take on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you try to, of course, we just talk about AI try to hack the peoples and governments.
Sure.
But at the same time, we can use machine learning algorithms to use the target selection, maybe adjusting attack tactics, or maybe kind of responding to defense.
Absolutely.
Applications.
That's exactly right. We can have an enhanced scalability in terms of protection and defense. Let me give you an example, if I may.
Yeah.
There's a Forrester research study or Forrester research report that says that 88% of the people surveyed, CISOs and CTOs, are concerned about AI, malware-driven, AI-based attacks and campaigns. 88% is quite a number, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the way we can have scalability on defense and protect, let's say that we get a couple of disciplines on a regular company, big or small: identities, data, and applications. Identities, data, and applications are the very three pillars of any company on the planet, big or small. So if we focus on identities, who has access to what, to data, who has access to what, with the same question, we are triggering two of the three very pillars of any company: identities, data, and then applications. How robust and solid is the code that your applications are built with? This is very important. And application security is one of the, unfortunately, forgotten disciplines of security or cybersecurity. How robust and solid is the code? How robust and solid your developers are focused on not just the customer experience, which has to be good, of course, and the user interface has to be friendly, it has to be fast. Yes to all of that. Yes to all of that. But what happened with the conversation on how robust and solid is the code on Python or Java or Kubernetes or whatever they're using? For that, my dear, machine learning or AI, artificial intelligence, can certainly find gaps with some libraries that you may be using. Open source sometimes, not just commercial libraries, but open source. When there are some developers out there just picking this Java library or an application programming interface, APIs, from here and there, from a different cloud or from GitHub, from Microsoft, okay, how you can ensure that those components, an API, a Java library, a Python, script, it has no bugs, it has no flaws. So let me finish with identities, data, and applications. Let me finish this answer. That's what I mean. Identities, data, and applications are the three very pillars of something that AI can certainly enhance in terms of its scalability. We humans, we need like, 2 weeks, 2 months to do an audit. Well, a technical audit can be done by an algorithm in a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, if you will, whatever you want. I can tell seconds, but certainly not in 2 months' time that it will take a team of, 8 people, 6 people, 5 people, 10 people guessing how robust and solid is your infrastructure. Machines accelerate, so algorithms multiply our human weaknesses or strengths, if you will. I teach on quantum computing, I teach on machine learning, I teach on geopolitics and disruption. When I go on stage or when I go into my classes, I say that, again, as I said before, it's economically possible and technologically viable. But why? Because an energy supply now, or transportation, or finance, even banks, are considered critical infrastructures of a country. Critical infrastructure. And I'm not only talking, which I am, about hospitals. Hospitals, of course, is critical infrastructure. Schools are critical infrastructure. But oil and energy supply, critical infrastructure. Transportation, oh, you bet, critical infrastructure of any country. And everything is so digital these days that I guess that yourself and our audience here today will appreciate the next term, the next concept, which is the surface of attack. I think it's very visual, because the surface of attack of any company, region of the world, country, if you will, the surface of attack is like the universe, is always expanding. I have not yet seen any of my 25 years of experience, 25 plus years of experience, I have not yet seen a surface of attack that is being reduced. No. Do you know why? Exactly because what you mentioned. Another device, another platform, another infrastructure, another application, another social media, the Internet of Things, the Internet of everything. That's true. And actually, I'm pretty sure that our audience, the people listening to this interview, podcast, video, etc., will know IoT. IoT means the Internet of Things. Am I correct? IoT. Okay. In my line of work, it is the Internet of Threats. IoT. And the Internet of Trouble. IoT. It is fundamental that we understand identities, data, and applications in a very AI-driven world, in a very AI AI, machine learning accelerated world, but still considering country protection, company protection, people protection, companies defense, because everything is so digital these days. So you are absolutely right, and vulnerabilities are all over the place. In my idea of the surface of attack always expanding, a new mobile, a new social media, a new credential, a new username and password, a new cloud. Well, welcome to the epoch of problems. I'm sorry, of digital problems. I would say that's a tragedy, but it is what it is. It is what
Yeah,
it is. Absolutely.
definitely. So, like, I mean, identifying potential attacks or like kind of maybe doing behavioral analysis
Sure.
or anomaly detection kind
Yep.
of events like can help to
Yep.
identify potential attacks, right? But
Yep.
I thinking about the costs, like these kind of attacks are huge all in the
They are.
world. So are there any big investments, or what's your observation? The people really consider kind of risks, or states really consider kind of risks?
You are absolutely right, but the question, unfortunately, is never answered. Why? Because very few people considered something that, and I'm sorry to drop another acronym, but this is what it is, VAR, 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 value at risk. When I go into different customers and companies around the planet, and I go and ask the CEO, the CTO, the CISO, the security manager, the privacy officer, the infrastructure director, okay, which is the value of this database that you want to protect? You would be amazed how many times I do not get an answer, because we don't know which is the value at risk. Because then the answer usually is, oh, a lot. It is priceless. Yeah, I understand. But priceless, with all due respect, is not an answer. Because in order to protect something, you need to know the value of something. Because if it's super, 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 super important and expensive, maybe I need a nuclear bomb to protect it. Maybe I need, snipers on the roof in order to protect it. But I need to know the cost of protection depending on the cost and the value which is at risk. So, which is the value of a customer data? Which is the value of a database? So sometimes I play a game which is a what if scenarios. What if scenarios are the following? What would happen if this database is compromised? What would happen if there's a data breach? What would be the problem and the impact if I'm playing that game? It is fantastic, and I love my job, because then IT, information technology, comes into the room, but also privacy officers come into the room. But usually the business need to come into the room, because IT is IT, it's technology, platforms. Privacy is privacy, data, regulations, countermeasures, controls. But then the business has to say something, especially when we are talking about customer data or patients' information or citizens, data, right? So the beauty of what we are talking here, and again, AI or not AI, is protection and defense at the core of what we have to do. The DNA of every company, history has shown us that is about no society can move forward without the instrumental questions on protection, defense, value at risk, exposure factor, how exposed you are depending on your nature of the company. Usually these days it's super digital. Everybody's so digital these days. But what is your exposure factor? How many clouds are you using? 1, 2, 12, 1,000? How many endpoints do you have? 1, 2, 10, 1,000? So those instrumental questions, and again, accelerated by AI, that is the topic today. But even if this conversation would not be about AI, the fundamental questions remain. Value at risk, exposure factor, how many clouds do you have, how many endpoints, how many employees, how many in and out vectors. And of course, AI only multiplies the problem and accelerates the problem, I would say. But you're absolutely right. I mean, vulnerabilities, nations, everything that we are talking about today is mixed, and intertwined into the fabrics of protection, defense, cybersecurity, and cyber resiliency.
Yeah,
Right.
developed countries more aware about what's going on, right?
Indeed.
Too many countries invest in the army, like the guns, but I don't read too many news or articles that the emerging countries invest in cybersecurity.
You're absolutely right, and especially culture. Let me answer with the following, if I may. Your question was absolutely right, but let me answer with culture plays a role in here. Culture, and not just because they are more developed or underdeveloped. Of course, that plays a role because it has to do with money and with. But what is the culture of the country? What is the culture of the region at large? Let me put you an example, if I may. Again, I'm a world traveler. I'm a world observer. I go back and forth around the world, visiting and presenting in more than 30 different countries every year. And that gives me quite a perspective, I would say. Meaning in the Nordics, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, okay, they have a culture of let's do it. While we Latinos, meaning Spain, or if you want Colombia or Latin America, we'll see. Actually in Spanish you say tranquilo, despacito. You remember the song? No, but I mean it. It's a cultural approach that no, mañana, we'll see. Tranquilo, take it easy. And you say, excuse me? Take it easy when I'm talking about threats and cyber attacks and identity theft. And wow. So in Japan, let's say in the Asian countries, not all of them, but in Asia, they are super, rigid. They are respectful, and they are so respectful with. So culture, that's my answer, plays an instrumental role, apart from being more or less developed and having more or less money. But what is the approach to risk from a personal perspective? What is the approach to risk from a corporate company perspective? I think that culture plays an instrumental role. Actually, when you go on different conferences and when I teach, I always talk about the triad, which everybody knows. I know, so bear with me just 30 seconds. But the triad of people, process, and technology. Everybody knows that, and everybody understands people, process, technology, and the relation. Okay. But that triad is okay. I'm sorry for the. I didn't know that. I'm sorry for that. That's good. Okay, let me do it again. That's super good. Okay. Anyway, the next triad is culture, structure, and strategy. So people, process, and technology is great. What is the culture of the country or the company? What is the structure of the country, of the company? Where does cybersecurity report into? Where does privacy report into? Operations, legal, maybe, and the strategy. So people, process, technology, culture, structure, and strategy are very important topics as well, and not always IT, security, AI. There are other topics in terms of ethics, transparency, from a cybersecurity perspective, I'm talking. So I think that's very interesting. Very, very, very interesting conversation. Absolutely, yeah.
Say something important for me. It's about, I think so, it's culture, country's culture, people's culture.
Absolutely.
Because it's like you said, some cultures prefers let this exist first, then I observe. Then
we'll see. Excuse me. Then we'll see when we will embrace the velocity, the variety, and the volume of change. When we will, as a country, company, association, entity, group of friends, whatever you want to call it. But when? The question is when. And once you know the answer to the when, is for how long. And once you know the answer for how long, is okay, from where to where, origin and destiny, in terms of applications, for instance, in terms of connection, from cloud to mobile devices, from applications to the network. So the instrumental questions are who has access to what, when, for how long, said who, with which privileges, all those questions, again, AI driven or not AI driven, keep being instrumental in order to have control and observability of the environment. That's I think that's a good summary in terms of the things that we have to do in order to nurture, to protect the right society that we have to become. Absolutely, 100%.
Some countries we can expect some countries will be the trendsetter about the artificial intelligence and cybersecurity things, because it's also related to experience, how many times you attack.
Absolutely. And we are seeing, unfortunately, for the good or the bad, we are seeing in the news every day, drones are doing their own path, flight, and everything in an automated, unmanned way. There's a great movie called Eye in the Sky that literally explains about the ethics of someone, unfortunately, killing someone with one of those drones, but the pilot is sitting thousands of kilometers away, in a bunker, let's say in Barcelona, my country. I mean, the movie is not about Barcelona, but I don't want to blame anyone, especially these days that are so critical and things are happening, all over the world. But, in the Ukraine or Afghanistan, or everywhere. It's happening in Armenia. There's trouble as well. So, of course, everywhere in the Middle East, etc. So, what I'm saying is the ethics of all that, and you don't have to be a pilot, and you don't have to carry a gun. You can bring a country to a halt. You can take down the infrastructure, the electrical grid of a country. And by the way, this is not just in the movies. This has already happened. I'm not talking about it may happen. You can bring the electrical grid of a country at 3 clicks of distance, as I call it. I mean, it's not 3 clicks, as you may imagine, but you can take it down with algorithms, with a distributed denial of service attack, just by flooding, the infrastructure of a country with, request, so that the country, the cloud, boom, just explodes. So it is terrible. But again, why? As I said on minute 7 or minute 9 of our conversation, it's technologically possible and economically viable, and that makes it interesting, but it makes it, tragic and a nightmare from a digital perspective, from a social perspective, and the impact at the end of the day is in people's lives and people's day-to-day and people's data, and that's certainly worrying. Absolutely.
Right, completely.
Yeah.
So, in that point, I'm curious about what will be the trends in the future. What will be the cases happen in the future, in near future, maybe short term or long term? So, maybe in country scale, maybe in the world scale, maybe in business scale. I don't know.
Absolutely. My answer is the following. Of course, anything related to AI. We have seen nothing yet. I have another article on the internet called AI. We have seen nothing yet. And I know it's super cool, the things that we are seeing and witnessing these days with ChatGPT in the positive way, and certainly with the bad guys, Worm GPT, Wolf GPT, AI-driven campaign, But we have seen nothing yet. Because the moment that we get, and I teach on quantum computing, when you cross blockchain with AI, when you combine quantum computing and the unparalleled power of quantum technologies with AI, wow, we have seen nothing yet. Unparalleled power. Power that we have not yet seen. The way of, again, attacking at scale. Not just one, not just two, but different companies at scale. I remember well, like 5 years ago, when there was the intent of bringing down the internet. People thought that it was just, I'm sorry, WhatsApp is not working, or Instagram is not working. I'm sorry, something's happened with my Netflix account. Well, it was proved that by attacking the DNS, I don't want to get very technical, but the DNS is the domain network infrastructure, or the DNS is about how the internet basically works. The DNS is, when you put, google.com or anything, at the end of the day, the DNS is translates that into numbers, translate that into IP addresses. Okay. So if you go to a building, let's say the internet, and you put some bombs into the pillars, into the foundations of the building, not just the building itself, but just on the pillars, you can take down the whole building. Am I correct? Well, guess what? This has already happened. It was a trying. It is being said, I don't have confirmation, that a certain country wanted to prove, especially because another country had elections. Let me open a parenthesis. There are US elections in November this year.
Yeah.
I'm closing the parenthesis. Okay? But there was the trying years ago, the experiment, if I may call it, like, hey, can we bring the internet down? Not just one specific country, I mean, the whole internet. And it happened during 24 hours, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And it was proof that it can happen. You can bring the whole internet, and that means this conversation that is happening through Google, meet.com, Instagram, Twitter, Meta, everything. So it's economically possible. It's technologically viable. It can happen. It has happened, and we have seen nothing yet. It will happen again, unfortunately.
Yeah, and a huge risk, and we just maybe experienced very few.
Absolutely.
So you touched also very unique thing. Maybe it tells like kind of domino effect. It's a pandemic thing, right?
Absolutely.
Cut the internet in general, of course, you
Absolutely.
can harm the personal data, like government interests, and so on. So I mean, they're in huge risk, and we are in overall, I understand, we are not aware what will be happen.
Absolutely.
And we can even, maybe we cannot talk about trends because there are too many sophisticated like uses and attacks maybe. So we will be seeing.
But if you want some trends that I didn't answer your question because I was opening. But if you want some trends, anything related to AI and deep fakes or AI driven content generation. Again, we have election, not we, I mean in Spain, by the way, we had elections from a region of the country yesterday, Sunday, so yesterday, literally. We had, in 1 month, we have elections in my region, in Catalonia, in the northern part of Spain. In Catalonia, we have regional elections. The US, we have European elections in June, if I recall correctly, so to the European Union and the European Parliament. Europe has elections in June. In the US, they have elections in November. So AI, driven content generation, deep fakes, misinformation, disinformation, Twitter, Meta, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to call it, the way you can manipulate, and I'm going to use this verb, manipulate a society at large, it is impressive. When we didn't have AI or social media, let me say the following. You manipulate it through journals and journalism and newspaper and some trends, and you have to say that, but that was not at scale. Of course, it was in the thousands, but it was not a scale. Through radio, television, depending on if you are lefty or you are righty, You know the drill, politics, right? Well, right now, you do it in the millions or in the billions at scale. With Twitter, Meta, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, you do it in the millions or in the billions. That's one trend. AI-driven content generation, you can call it deep fakes. As I said, when you combine that with unparalleled power, there's a company called NVIDIA, starting with an N, NVIDIA, that actually has chips only dedicated to AI. So when you talk me about trends, well, we will see super powerful phones. Actually, Apple is already presenting in June. Actually, in 1 month and a half time, they're going to be presenting iOS 18. And it's going to be basically, remember my words, remember what I'm saying now, AI related, an operating system that flies with AI, an AI that doesn't go to the cloud to check the answers. It will be in phone, an AI built with chips in phone. So the trends, and I'm sorry again for a long answer, but it's the crossroads of quantum, meaning unparalleled power. And if people think that quantum is not here yet, okay, forget quantum. AI chips only dedicated to one or two purposes, super focused, not multi-purpose, not universal purpose, but focused on one or two things. In-device AI, not going to the cloud, not going to check. And of course, anything related to content generation, fake content generation at scale, in the millions or in the billions, in order to blend, in order to twist the morale of a country, the faith of a country, the opinion of a country or a region or a company. That's what I'm envisioning. And this is what absolutely is happening, not in the future, but in the so present. Yeah.
That is so important. You just, it's when we're talking about, it's like kind of technology podcast, but it definitely touch too many real.
You bet.
Real time data and give too many valuable information to us today, and it's great to talk with you.
My pleasure. I mean, the information that I share is as mine as right now is yours, and of course of our audience here today. So the quotes and etc. You can use them freely, because again, they are as mine as they are yours right now. So not a problem. My pleasure.